Welcome everybody back to Warm Weather Fans. It is Brian and Zeke, your hosts for Week 11 in the Sun Belt. We've got a Thursday night game to talk about, includes my Georgia Southern Eagles. Unfortunately, my Georgia Southern Eagles. Zeke, how are things going on your end?
I'm good. Have you seen Chad Powers yet?
I don't know that I'm going to watch that show, to be totally honest with you.
Here's the thing. It was exceptional. It was, no joke, top 5 for me all time. It was incredible. Glenn Powell is great. Mark Sanchez's wife is exceptional.
Who is Mark Sanchez's wife?
Her name is Perry Matfeld, and she is the lead actress in the show. And she is exceptional. Exceptional. The dad from Diary of a Wimpy Kid.
Now, does the show end with her getting stabbed by an old man?
No.
Oh, what a bummer.
I know, unfortunate. And I'm actually in the show. You can't see me, but they recorded a scene at a Georgia game where Glenn Powell's character runs on the field and takes in Sanford Stadium. And I'm up there in the 300 section. So if you can find me, I couldn't.
I just have a hard time watching shows like this where it's like I watched the trailer or the commercials that they would constantly air, and I was like, are these the funniest jokes in the show? Like, because these are brutal. Like
the jokes are not funny. The jokes that they wrote into the show are not funny. But I think, again, Mark Sanchez's wife is very funny. Her facial expressions are incredible. Glenn Powell's delivery, he really impressed me as a comedy actor, delivering non-jokey lines. It's 6 episodes. It's worth a watch.
I've got a recommendation for you if you like Glenn Powell. He did a movie with Richard Linklater for Netflix called Hitman. That was great. I can't recommend it enough.
Like you said, it was a series?
No, it was a movie. It's just called Hitman.
Oh, I remember. Yeah, I remember at least seeing a poster for this. Okay, I'll report back next week.
Yeah, it's great. So if you really like him in that type of role, like he really gets to kind of like spread his wings more than, everybody liked him in Top Gun Maverick, but he's really just kind of doing an Iceman impression where it's like that movie like finally lets him like be like a regular person kind of for a minute. And I'm like, oh, this is nice. You don't have to basically be a borderline superhero for the first time that I've seen you. All right. We talked about it. Thursday night, Georgia Southern is heading to Boone to take on App State. App is a 5.5-point home favorite. Over under is 62.5. I may do the JMU move that I did against Georgia Southern where I moved the line for more points. I may get this one up to 7.5, 8.5 for App. Georgia Southern, whether it be through injury attrition, guys sitting out for the rest of the season, Josh Dallas, Chance Gamble, like Latrell Bullard, like all these guys, whether it be through injury attrition, lack of knowledge at the defensive coordinator and offensive coordinator spots, and head coach for that matter, and the fact that JC French is not good enough to just put a team on his back the way that like a Colton Joseph or a Jalen Rayner is, makes me think this one's not going to be close. I think App runs away with this one. We had talked about in our previous episode when we talked about Week 10 about their lack of success running the football. If there's one thing we know after watching Arkansas State against Southern and then this last week against Troy, if there's a remedy to not being able to run the football, it's playing Georgia Southern's defense, because they made Kenyon Clay look like a future pro player, and then he ran for, I think, 40 yards this last week against Troy. So Dubinion, whoever else they want to throw out there at running back, is going to go over 100 yards. I don't know if they let you bet yardage for individual players in college. Take that over. Take the team total for rushing over. Like, I don't know if AJ Swan or JJ Cole's going to start. I frankly don't think it really matters. I think every team that has played Southern this year if you have thrown the ball, you've wasted a down. That's the way I feel about it. So it's like you need to be running the ball every play because they will give up 6 yards a carry. So they may get you on first down. The next 2 carries are going to go for 12. So it's like, why even put the ball in the air? You're just asking for trouble. So
Sure.
I think that's, I mean, App, I think, runs away with this one. Like, they've not been good this year. Both teams are 1-3 in the Sun Belt, but they have, I can kind of see the vision with App in a way that Georgia Southern, it looks like Clay Helton's getting up there and those smiles are getting a little tighter every week where, he can't quite muster like the full on, Cheshire cat that he was last year. It's getting to be where the AD is going on his like whatever this weekly Georgia Southern show with the guy that does the radio broadcast and is like straight up finally addresses anything and is like, I know we're not where we need to be at. This is below our standards, like blah, blah, blah. That may all be lip service and we may be running this back all next year with the coaching staff, but it's at least acknowledged this season is not going well. And I feel like this team is just kind of thrown in the towel because frankly, I don't think they're very good.
Be grateful you've at least heard from the AD. The line here is at -5.5. That's juicy. Also juicy, the over-under. 63 points are not going to get scored in this game.
Yeah.
It's just simply not going to happen. Neither of these defenses are good. And at any given moment, you think that they could allow the 32 points requisite to do that. Neither of these offenses, J.J. Cole, A.J. Swan in particular has really nosedived. J.J. Cole is proving to be a solid but not world beater. Rashad Dominion, as you said, is going to run buck wild, but like I just don't see the points coming in this one.
J.C. French has one play, which is throw it to Camden Brown.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't have another. I mean, I don't know if Dalen Cobb, like, I don't know if he got into a Space Jam situation where he touched a football that was like haunted by aliens. They stole his talent. He's been awful this year after being pretty good last year. He's had like one play all year where he like got a kick return for a score. I think that happened in the Jacksonville State game. He's had balls. He was the one I told you weeks back when they finally let Weston Bryan throw a ball. He was the one that let it bounce off his face.
Yeah.
I mean, he's been awful. They don't have a second receiver. I mean, I don't care. They've been rolling this like Taylor Bradshaw guy out. He's not good. He has led to multiple interceptions, whether through drops or not being able to know how to like run routes properly. They basically went into the season and was like, if Josh Dallas and or Camden Brown get hurt, our season's over. And that's exactly what happened, which is Dallas is hurt. And from what reporters have said is out of there at the end of the season. So Camden Brown jump balls are basically the entire offense. They don't have a tight end that can catch. OJ Arnold does not work in between the tackles on a down-to-down basis. He can rip off a run here or there, but he works better almost as like a third down receiving back in space. They can't generate offense with this team. And then, like you said, defensively, they don't play a lot of defense. So it's like not a great recipe for whatever they're trying to do, which is I'm still grasping at that. I don't know what they're going for. All right. I think we're both firmly on App there.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any real question. All right. Saturday. Let's start at noon on ESPN2. Marshall is coming off of a 17-point loss to Coastal. They now have to welcome in James Madison, who is a 13.5-point road favorite. I think this one's going to be ugly again for Marshall because I think James Madison's going to go look at that ODU tape and Bob Chesney's going to cut it off and walk up to the front and go, do you want that to happen? And JMU's going to go, nope. And then they're going to be locked in because they already know that this team upset Old Dominion weeks back and they just got their butts handed to them on Thursday night by giving up a ton of turnovers. So I think JMU wins the turnover battle again. And I think that Marshall, they have a nice little team, but they're not on this level. We've seen multiple teams go up against JMU and just get absolutely like buzzsawed. So yeah.
even without the turnovers, James Madison's defense is going to make it look like they turned the ball over 5-6 times in that game. It's pretty cut and dry to me. I think a 13.5 road favorite is something I don't know that I've seen in conference at least ever. I mean, that is obscene, but it does not feel actually that crazy. Because Marshall is not, I just don't see Marshall coming back with that bite that after a really ugly loss, it ain't gonna happen. There's really, really no way.
We haven't really talked about it. Marshall was another fan base that was very, very upset at us about our preseason prediction. And it's like their offense has been better than I expected, and they beat Old Dominion, which I didn't expect. But ultimately, I think the result is going to be roughly what we said, which is like 6 wins is probably going to be the ceiling here. I think they probably lose one more game after this one, and then you're 6-6 or whatever at the end of the season. And it's like, was that, again, Marshall fans upset at us before the season started. Was that a success to get to 6? I guess so. In Tony Gibson's first year, like there's something to build off of, but there were Marshall Twitter accounts, and I know that they're not the end all be all for information, as recently as last week before the Saturday night game or the Thursday night game, that were like, all we got to do is beat JMU and we're in the conference title game. And I'm like, technically that's true.
Yeah.
Is it going to happen? No, you guys are on another planet with that.
I'm one lottery ticket away from a private yacht, man, from my own, $1 million mansion. I think Marshall could. I do think, I will say, I think following what we think will be a relative handling at the hands of James Madison, I think Marshall could finish with 7 wins. They finish at Georgia State, at App, and versus they welcome in Georgia Southern to finish it. Of those 3, at App is the only losable game.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Is like they lose at
they're
App.
Still
they're 6.
I'm not ready to call that a loss yet. Both of those teams are just so volatile that shoot, maybe App puts up the stinker that Marshall put up last week against Coastal. So is this not a relative success considering you started from without the best defensive player, not just in the conference, but from a statistical perspective, probably the country, the best quarterback in the conference, the coach of the year from last year?
Well, I'm not going to give them credit for losing the coach of the year. They shot themselves in the foot.
Hey, I'm not saying that it wasn't their fault, but I think this is a win for them. I mean, to even be bowling, I think is a huge success.
But our preseason prediction was like their ceiling is 5. If they win 6, is it that crazy to be like, hey, you guys are going to win 5 this year? That's what I don't get. Like, you can't. I understand Carlos Del Rio Wilson's been good. You can't erase the way that they started the season because that. You lose to an FCS call up by a point. There's things in there that are like true problems. Yeah, sure. If they get to 6 wins, they make a bowl game. That I will count that as a success. And I guess I'll say hand up I was wrong. But the forecast was like 4 or 5 wins. It's like if they win 6, do I feel like an idiot? Not really. Like I'm just okay. I was one off. But yeah. I think JMU handles them. I also don't know if you saw this. A couple weeks back, there was a Marshall Twitter account that was crashing out because they said, and I quote, Georgia Southern doesn't deserve to be App's rival, so that should just be us. We should just take over that rivalry. And people, even App fans were like, what the F are you talking about? And it was just like, I was like, hey, Siri, what's the color of envy? Oh, green? Cool. That's appropriate. So I was just like, yeah, it's sad that they were just like, let's take over this rivalry that has been in place for 30 years. It's not happening. You're not just taking that overnight. But anyway, good luck against James Madison on Saturday. Really, Really hope you guys go out and have a great time. Another noon kick, ESPNU, Southern Miss takes on Arkansas State. Arkansas State, coming off of back-to-back wins over Georgia Southern and Troy, are now firmly in second in the Sun Belt West. This is the barometer for Southern Miss. I mean, you're going to play Arkansas State and Troy to kind of wrap this season up. You win both of those, I mean, you're waltzing into the title game. You could probably rest your starters in the final game of the season against Troy. If Troy loses again, I wouldn't play him until I absolutely had to. I'd save Braxton and everybody else for the title game and be like, I'm good. We don't need game 12 action. This is basically like we've wrapped up a playoff spot in the NFL and we're sitting our guys week 18.
Yeah. Southern Miss wins this one fairly comfortably. I think they're just going to put up points against Arkansas State. The Red Wolves are feisty. They've won their last 4, but that all sparked from a loss, back-to-back losses from ULM, and then a now bowl-eligible Kennesaw State, and then preceded by those by even more losses to Iowa State and Arkansas. I don't think this one is terribly close. I think Southern Miss is not to the same degree that James Madison is head and shoulders. I mean, they're head, shoulders, knees, and toes above the rest of the East. Southern Miss is head and shoulders above Troy and Arkansas State, who are kind of jostling for that number 2 position. So I think they win by at least a score here, but it could be an interesting game for sure.
Arkansas State had 9 sacks last week, so never know when that's going to happen again.
Probably never. I'm going to go and say that wasn't because Arkansas State found the juice. Call me crazy.
All right, 4:00. This is your game. Georgia State is traveling to Conway to take on Coastal Carolina. Coastal is only a 6.5 point favorite. I like them in this one. This is another move the line for more points. I don't understand why it's only 6.5. They just beat Marshall by 17 points. They've beaten App. They're 4-1 in the Sun Belt. They're 5-3 overall. They're playing the easily the worst team here in Georgia State at home. I don't know. I mean, I guess the hope is that you get caught up in a shootout and that Coastal doesn't force any turnovers the way that they did last week of Carlos Del Rio Wilson, but I just don't see a world in which Georgia State gets enough stops to win this game.
The worst case scenario here is that we get behind early. Maybe you see the turnovers, which again, I don't know how much of those were Coastal Carolina turnovers versus Marshall crap in the bed.
Sure.
But the real worst case scenario for me is Cameron Brown goes out there again, throws an early pick, maybe underperforms, goes into half, sitting around 55% maybe. TJ, let's go.
Yeah, and then they lose by 24.
I mean, you talked about the Space Jam. It's like, again, Georgia State was no world beater, but they were a perennial bowl contender. They got Space Jammed with Kennesaw State. And it's just like, all right, I don't even know, SoCon or what conference do we go down to in the FCS if we get demoted? Keep our seat warm because we're on the way, man. It's looking really, really bad, and it's frustrating.
I wonder at what point the Atlanta market stops being so like delicious to the Sun Belt when it's like Georgia State's got a pretty good basketball team.
Yeah,
like,
good basketball, great baseball within the conference.
But football-wise, I mean, it looks like until they fire Del McGee, at least, it's like back to the dark ages of like, we're just hoping to win 2 games this season, 3 games.
Someone's got to be this is a poor analogy now that they're a very highly ranked team, but someone has to be the Vanderbilt of the conference where you're holding up some of the other sports. But at least you want a degree from Vanderbilt.
Right. And Georgia State is what Georgia State is, which is not it's not Vanderbilt.
Not the creme de la creme of the Georgia State schools, which is fine.
They don't call it the Dartmouth of Atlanta for no reason. All right. Last game of the night here, a 5:00 kick. Texas State is traveling to Louisiana to take on the Cajuns. Texas State at 3-5 and 0-4 is a 2.5 point road favorite. Is there some inside information that I'm not privy to? Is Lunch Winfield getting a briefcase full of gold bricks to throw this game? What are we doing the NBA thing where like, DeSorbo's getting a call and he's like, you need to bench Lunch right now, and he's like, okay. He just like, all right, go to the bench. Let's see what Will Howard's or what's his name, Scott? Yeah.
Walker Howard.
Walker
Who's
Howard.
been getting
Will
snaps.
Howard.
I'll be granted, I haven't been tuned into the Louisiana games when he's gotten that like 1, 2, 3 snaps. Someone let us know, please. Maybe I just text Matt. Is this so that he gets film for his next portal adventure? Like,
is there going to be another one?
Who knows?
Would anybody want him based on what he's put on film this year?
He's been hurt, man. I think I disagree with you. At the bare minimum, I know Texas State can put up points. And even with Lunch in the driver's seat, this team has put up stinkers. 10 against Southern Miss. Again, a better Southern Miss team than Texas State, a better defense than Texas State. 23 against Troy. I say only, but 31 against South Alabama doesn't wow me. Because there's a world where you go out and put up 31 against Texas State. I know the Bobcats are going to score. I like Texas State here.
Okay.
There's a floor there that I know that I'm getting.
I think you're right there, but there's never a guarantee that you're going to get a stop in a game with Texas State. That's my issue. And then we've talked about what Louisiana's problems are in previous weeks, but it's like there is a world where you saw the way Lunch played last week against, what was not a good defense, but Texas State's not any better. Like, who's to say he doesn't go 18 of 19 for 270 yards and 4 touchdowns or whatever? And you're just like, he completed every pass. Like, we don't know what to do. He's throwing the ball down the field and we can't defend it. Like, I don't know. He has those games where it's just like, he's like a Jamal Crawford off the bench in the NBA where it's like, he's just a microwave. Like, he just comes out, flamethrower, and then some games it's just like, it's just not there and there's no real rhyme or reason to why. It's usually teams that can get pressure, I would say. And do we know anybody on Texas State that can rush the passer? I don't. Not really.
I don't know.
So that's my thing is if you let Lunch just sit in the pocket for 6 seconds, I think he's really going to hurt you.
He'll definitely cut him up. But I like the floor on Texas State more than I like Louisiana's.
Well, Zeke's still pulling for you, Bobcats. It happened last year. He's bringing it back.
No.
College football playoff at the end of the season.
Oh, goodness. Oh, boy.
Yeah, hopefully Texas State's able to pick up their first Sun Belt win, because I can't think of things that would be more embarrassing than moving on to the Pac-12, peacocking it all off season, and then finishing winless in the Sun Belt on the way out would be maybe the most humiliating thing I've heard of in a minute.
Goodness.
Talking about how poor all the other programs are and we're going to be raking in the cash. That may be true. You guys may be the Georgia State of the Pac-12 while you're making all that money. But, sure, you guys can be making money hand over fist. But you're not winning any games. So as long as you're fine with that, go for it.
Yeah. Texas teams don't belong in a conference called the Pacific. Call me crazy.
That's why they call it the Gulf or whatever, They're like, Pacific Ocean's right there. All right. Let's wrap this up. So you can email the show, warmweatherfans@gmail.com. You can follow us on X or YouTube, Warm Weather Fans, or at Warm Weather Fans. You can follow me on X at Watch the Stone. Zeke, let them know where they can follow you, and then we'll get out of here.
Yeah, man. I'm on Twitter at Zeke Palermo, ZekePalermo.
Thanks, everybody, and we will be back to review the Week 11 games and talk about the upcoming Week 12. This has been Warm weather fans.